Good morning, everyone. I'm April with Fundanoodle. So excited that you could join us today. This is our very first Fundanoodle 5. I'm so thrilled to start this program every other week where we're going to bring early education experts to answer your questions. So we're starting with a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of mastering letter formation and becoming a good reader. And the best person to bring as our expert is here, Lisa Palladino. She is the owner and founder and educator at the Ballantyne Reading Academy for the very young. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, April. I'm so happy to be asked and happy to be here.
So here's the deal to everybody in Facebook world. This is our very first time doing a live interview. We've done lots of Facebook Lives, but this is the first time I've actually got somebody else there on the screen, and we're going to have a great conversation. So I'm sure there'll be technical difficulties, and we've got a lot of work to do on audio and a set, I hear, as we grow this, but we're really excited just to get started. Now, I want to tell you why Lisa is the perfect person to help us logically talk about this topic. Lisa graduated magna cum laude from Stonehill College in Northeastern Massachusetts with a BA in elementary education and a concentration in reading instruction. In addition to teaching second grade in Massachusetts, she also chaired an after-school intramural program for over 700 students and served on the superintendent's literacy committee at the personal request of the superintendent. So this is her jam. She knows what she's talking about. Lisa's distinctive approach to combining phonics and language-oriented activities led her to co-author a teacher's guide to whole language instruction and present at regional professional development workshops on the benefits of her integrative classroom reading strategies. Lisa also has experience in teaching kindergarten through 5th grade with the Charlotte Mecklenburg school system. She founded Ballantyne Reading Academy in 2012 as a direct response to the increased demands of early literacy. So we're going to get started. The way this is going to work, we have 5 questions that we're going to ask her. And we're going to watch your comments here on the side and add them in. But then once we get going, you have some comments, I'll pay attention to them and try to bring them to Lisa's attention. But we'll start with our first question, the 5. First question. Topic. Okay. How is teaching handwriting skills linked to teaching reading skills?
Thank you for the question. Reading is all about making connections. We hear it a lot from the classroom teachers. Everything is making connections. So when you are writing, the actual process of handwriting, you're making that connection between the letters and then also the sounds. And then, of course, the connection to the meaning in the written word. So every time in early literacy, early pre-writing skills, when we're making those strokes, when we're making the letters, we're reinforcing the sounds that those letters make, what that actual symbol stands for. So it's making a connection. It's making your brain actually relate what you're doing with what it means. So, for example, I love Fundanoodle for the way they use the buzz around. From when we do B, you're actually making the buh sound. So we do that a lot with the children. As you're buzzing around for the B, you hear it, you see it, you do it. All those things make the connection so that then when you are reading the printed word, you already know what the sounds are and what the letter is. So absolutely, handwriting and reading are connected.
Excellent. Just a sidebar question, maybe. Where does that first start? How early are you working on these handwriting skills to make sure they're tying well to the reading skills?
You're not actually, parents are doing things without even knowing it. You're not actually sitting down with a worksheet and a pencil when your child is 2 years old. But as they're holding a spoon when they're young and as an infant, as they're getting older and reaching for things, All those movements that they make, those grasps that they make, are getting them ready. So early things that you can do are just giving them a piece of sidewalk chalk or a paintbrush even, or I love the shaving cream and the fingers in the shaving cream, making strokes, all those things, going from top to bottom, making those initial movements early on set the stage for later on. So then when you get to be about 2 or 3 years old, then you're connecting those shapes and circles and forming letters. But every time they see print, babies see their names all the time in their nurseries for sure. Trace the letters of their names, those kinds of things where it's not sitting down and doing handwriting or sitting down and doing penmanship, but you're making, again, those connections between the symbol, the printed letter, word, and real meaning in their lives.
Excellent. All right, question number 2. How does the mastery of fine motor skills help cognitive function?
That's a very good one. There's lots and lots of studies on this one. It's a direct relation. I just said the connections, it absolutely connects. Your brain is actually developing at an early age. It's still developing. We know it develops on until their teens and 20s. But in that early development, the things that you're doing with your fine motor skills are actually strengthening your brain so you can problem solve. When a child is figuring out how to make that straight line and then add the curved line to it, your brain is figuring out, this will help me solve this problem. How am I going to hold that pencil? How is that helping me? And what kind of grip do I do to make sure that the pencil doesn't drop? Those kinds of things are actually teaching your brain and strengthening your brain to problem solve. So that helps in so many ways. And there are many, many studies that say handwriting, properly learning handwriting, penmanship at early ages, there's a direct correlation between their success in math and reading later on, because it's all about that problem-solving skills. How am I going to solve this problem? Like I said, even if it's as simple as how do I hold this pencil?
What are some ideas for our viewers about how to develop fine motor skills as children are growing?
April, you and I have talked about this. It is so important to strengthen their grasp. I tell parents all the time, use tweezers, use tongs, anything that's going to strengthen their grasp. Children are on their tablets so much. It's an entirely different way of using the muscles in their hands and fingers. So they're losing that actual grip strength. And it makes such a difference to get children early. It's like anything else. If you learn it the right way first, it's so much easier later on than to have to relearn something later. So just that grip strength. I see it all the time with children that they might have the actual grasp correctly, but they don't have strength in their hand to be able to manipulate whatever writing utensil they're using. So definitely things like tweezers and tongs and anything that they can pinch and really strengthen the muscles in their hands.
And not the iPad.
And not the iPad.
As little as possible. We are very much at Fundanoodle, and it's all about hands-on learning between 2.5 and 6. There's nothing that's going to happen on that iPad that's going to really help you with those motor skills.
And even, I work with children all the way through elementary school, the 5th graders, even the older children that are used to, they have assignments they have to do on their laptop or their iPad. Sometimes they love doing their spelling words in the sand or doing their vocabulary words in shaving cream. That's something different from them, but it's just one other way that they're making that connection that's not necessarily on the screen.
And that's so interesting you say that, because I feel that the more we take sensory away from our kids and have them do assignments on the computer, the more their body's craving the sensory.
Absolutely.
So you would think, a 3rd, 4th grader, they're going to think that's silly to trace letters in shaving cream or sand or do their spelling words, but their body's craving it. So when you introduce it to them, they love it.
Absolutely. And that's why I did want to say your I Can Pound, Fundanoodle's I Can Pound activity kit is one of the favorite things. I think it was one of my first purchases from you back in 2012. It's probably gotten the most use of anything that we have done. And just recently, and this I saved it anticipating that this was coming up. That you use it for the younger children, that whole grip strength that we talk about. I had a younger child in here earlier that was doing letters, doing the I Can Pound, the letters name, and then I had a 1st grader come in right afterwards, and the kit was sitting here, And they were really upset when I said, oh, that's not for you. That's not what I had scheduled. We're working on something else. And then I thought, you know what? Why not? So literally, this is what we did. I just wrote out the word that he was working on. And every time he pound, he had to say the letter and pound with the letter. And 5 minutes of doing that, he was so happy and could spell the word because right afterwards.
That's awesome. We are actually working on sight word pages to make available and looking at it that way. Unfortunately, since it is so popular, the I Can Pound kit is out of stock right now temporarily.
I am not surprised.
We're working on ways to bring it up into the older classrooms as well, because we've kept hearing that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because, like I said, if I leave that out, no matter what age child here, they want to do it. So it's making me be a little creative in ways to use it as well.
We will do that, and I'm glad to see. I love seeing people's ideas. Okay, question 3. And this is a good transition. We didn't even plan this transition. Are there ways to make learning penmanship fun for young children?
Absolutely. And I get that a lot because, one of our services is penmanship. We do manuscript and cursive. And a lot of the parents, when they first come, they'll ask me, is this going to be worksheets? And I say, no. Obviously, we do. You have to have the practice and actually writing things. But we do so many different things to make it fun for children because no one wants to just sit there and drill their letters. So we do use sand, we use shaving cream, we use sidewalk chalk. One of my favorite things for the young children, especially if they're learning that grasp, is to let them lay on the floor and write underneath the table. I'll tape their paper to underneath the table, and that forces them to have a proper grasp just from the angle that they're at. Kids love that. Dry erase markers are, I think, probably one of the best inventions because I let children write them everywhere. They can write on windows. They can write on, I have a glass mirror. They can write on the mirror. They can write on the table we have. That is always a caveat. I tell children, don't do this at home because you never know. It might not come off at home. I know it's going to come up here. But I let them write everywhere. So I have young children that will practice writing their name on the window. I have older children, again, that will practice writing full sentences on the table without any paper at all. They love that. They love getting to write in an unconventional way, but it's still practice that they can do.
And that's the most important thing is, making it fun for them and not feeling like it's just this rote trace or letter, which is, so many parents have that memory from when they were young, and that's how you learned in a lot of situations. You would just practice the letter over and over again. But I love the dry erase. That's brilliant. Kids love dry erase, and letting them write anywhere is perfect.
Right, and that's what they do here.
Cool. I think parents can put that, interpret that at home.
Absolutely.
So is cursive still relevant?
The answer is depends on who you talk to. I think absolutely. Cursive is absolutely relevant. For one thing, just to go back in history and to be able to read documents that we have that are written in cursive, it's very important to be able to go back and look at whether it's just your own family history and go back into the trove of letters you might have found before or historical documents. We need to be able to read those. So absolutely, it's still relevant to learn how to, if you're not going to write it yourself, to be able to read it at least. Some schools of thought teach cursive first, actually, in some areas of the world. They taught cursive first. Montessori programs usually teach cursive first. There are, again, all kinds of studies, both for and against it. I don't think there's a definitive answer. I think, like everything else we do here at Ballantyne Reading, it depends on the child. We're very much focused on whatever the child needs, we provide. And some children, especially children that might have some learning disabilities, whether it's dyslexia or dysgraphia, those children tend to read cursive better and respond better to cursive. Children who are whole word readers do much better with cursive because when you're doing cursive, it's definitely the whole thing. There's no break. There's no disconnect between the word and the letter, where in manuscript, each letter is individual. So some children who do better with that, with a part rather than the whole learning, they do better with manuscript. So again, from my perspective, it depends on the child and what you want to introduce first. Cursive is very relevant in teaching reading because, again, it flows. And so it helps with fluency, it helps with phrasing. But again, manuscript could even do that as well because children can actually see these letters form one word, then there's a break, these letters form another word. So again, that helps with fluency and phrasing. I think it's relevant. I write in cursive all the time. We just had this conversation about how I write letters to my children in cursive, so they'll never forget. When they're in the middle of the texting, they will know cursive.
I love that. I love, she was telling before we started how she has written letters to her son who just graduated from college all through school, and he gets so frustrated, like, Mom, it's all cursive. But she got a note from him that was written in cursive, and he told her, you know, I meant it because I took the time to write it in cursive for you. And I think that's just great. And I love that kids at a certain age get really interested and they want to learn. And I hope we can capitalize on that, and then they can go from there.
You just made a really good point. There is a certain age. I think it's around what I found for my students here between first and second grade, actually, where children really want to learn cursive. And I think it does a disservice to them to not capitalize on that enthusiasm.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Okay, our last question, kind of play on that. Does it matter whether cursive or manuscript is introduced first?
And we did kind of touch on that. I personally, maybe it's because that's how I was taught, and that's how I was, how the practice that I used when I was a teacher in the classroom. In America, we do mainly manuscript first. Again, Montessori will do cursive. I personally think that for young children learning to read, being able to print the letters makes a better connection because that's what they see in books. There are different fonts, of course, but it's manuscript. So when they're looking at a book and then they go and they can print the letters that they see in stories and books. At the same time, there's all kinds of research that doing cursive first avoids reversals. You don't really see reversals when children are learning to write if they do it in cursive first. Some people think it's easier for children to just keep going in the flow, the motions that you make. There aren't those stops and starts that there are with manuscript. I really think, again, it's up to you and your child. If your child is having difficulty one way, try the other way. They might have better success with that. But personally, just because that's the environment that we're in and that I taught in and I learned myself, I do manuscript first.
And from our perspective, we're the same way. I mean, we really think it's important to start with those uppercase letters, master those before moving to lowercase. And even with the uppercase, we focus on the easy ones, the straight lines, before we go to the curve, the diagonals, because we want to make confident learners. We want them to like it and enjoy it and not throw the hard letters first, like A. You know, parents start talking with A, and I look at them and say, that's the third hardest letter in the alphabet to write, and you're starting there. So no one gets frustrated.
That's one of the things I love about Fundanoodle is that you don't go in order of the alphabet. You go in order of the easiest letters when you're introducing them to children. The only time that I differ with that is I always feel it's important for children to do their name first.
Yes.
So when they come in here, whatever their letter of their first name, that's usually what we start with, and we do their names first because everything is about what's meaningful to them.
Right.
When you're 3 years old, the most meaningful thing is
your name.
Your name.
Being able to write your name. That is so key. Do you have anything else you want to share?
I just want to, again, thank you for this opportunity. We've known each other for a while, April, and I'm such a huge fan of Fundanoodle. I use it so often, daily here at Ballantyne Reading, and look forward to continuing to see what new products you have and figure out ways that we can use them here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being our guinea pig. Not sure how things will go out there. We'll see. We didn't get a lot of comments to start, but like I said, this will be live on our page, and we'll download it and have it on our YouTube channel as well. Fantastic. So thank you, everyone who was able to join in or will watch later. And thank you, Lisa, for kicking it off. So thanks for joining our first Fundanoodle 5. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.